back when I was a little kid, real little, like super little, tiny little, real little kid, I had an uncle named Zanjo. I don't know if that was his real name. I don't think it was. You weren't the way I understood it. He never said it directly, but the story I kind of got from the rest of my family was that you were not allowed to know his name unless you solved his riddle. I don't recall him giving me the riddle, but sometimes I get the feeling that that might have been part of the riddle. Whatever the case, though, yeah, I had this Uncle Zanjo, and I say had because unfortunately I do not have him anymore. As of maybe 2 years ago, and I had him for a period of maybe 6 months around that time. Kind of periodically, off and on, I will have Uncle Zanjo. And yeah, it's been a good bit, but usually comes around again. I'm hoping maybe sometime in the next year or two, have him again. Looking forward to it. Uh, but yeah, so Uncle Zanjo, he was always a real character. He was a real he was a real guy. He was a real he had he was just this this guy, a real uncle, like I think out of all of my family, I've got a lot of family. I've got a tremendous amount of family, and I think out of all of them, I think Uncle Zanjo, different people serve different roles in your life. You have kind of a different relationship with different people. You've got the relationship with your parents or with your siblings or whatever. But Uncle Zanjo, and a lot of other like aunts and uncles. But Uncle Zanjo, he uh he really he uh he really spent a lot of time just kind of like out in nature, just kind of wandering around, wandering around the house, wandering to and fro, in and out of my field of vision. And that was kind of my view of him, when I was this really tiny, just super extremely small little being. That was kind of my view. He was always just walking around. He was one of those guys. You just every time you look at him, if he's not sitting down, he's walking, going in and out of rooms, sometimes being at the house, sometimes being at his own house. And sometimes that's the crazy thing. Sometimes I would go to his house and like you think, okay, especially someone like an uncle, they kind of put on a face when they're around you, especially when you're a kid, you kind of get this sense that the adults, they kind of act a certain way around each other. And then like when they're interacting with you, you kind of like, especially the younger you are, you get that, okay, but they put on like a kind of a different voice, a different personality for it's the kind of thing where like maybe you don't understand it at first, but but like the older you get, the more you kind of sense that there's kind of like this sort of this, yeah, maybe not like a face, but just kind of like a different aura. And yet Uncle Zanjo, like I would go to his house in his own natural environment, and he'd be just like walking around in and out of rooms. He would walk like to the mailbox like every day. Like one time I spent the weekend, like a couple of us spent the weekend at his house, and it was really fun. He made pancakes, every morning he made for like lunch, dinner, pancakes. We loved pancakes. He just made pancakes all the time. But like every morning, he wouldn't even understand that we were around. Like he thought we hadn't woken up yet. Like one time I woke up before everyone else, and I look out the window. I hear a noise, and he's just walking in the mailbox. He just walks to the mailbox and he gets the mail and he brings it back. Even when he doesn't think anyone's watching, he's just walking. It's Uncle Zanjo. And one time he took me by the hand, and he said, "Come here, I want to show you something." And he brought me around back to the big hole. There was this big hole in his backyard. That's another thing. When he wasn't like walking around or like sitting, he was digging his hole. There was just this big old hole in his backyard. Neighbors hated it, but I loved it. I thought it was magical. We weren't like allowed to like get too close. We weren't allowed to like look at it. If we went to the backyard to like play ball or something, he'd be like, "Don't look at the hole." Sometimes, like half the time. The rest of the time, he'd be like, "That's fine, play in the hole. Who cares?" It wasn't even that deep. It was like a couple feet. It wasn't even like a big hole. It was kind of more wide. He kind of just like would scrape the earth. Kind of shallow. He was more into like making it wide, not so much deep. But he did spend a lot of time. Uncle Zanjo's hole. It became like a little, just kind of a little inside, little winky joke between the family members. Uncle Zanjo out digging his hole, digging that hole. And so he would like store a lot of his belongings in the hole. And I got the impression that he thought these objects were like hidden. He would kind of like, like the toaster, I go over and I'm like, "Hey, I want to heat up this pancake. Where's the toaster?" And he'd be like, "Oh, it's out in the hole." And he'd be like, "Can I go? Are you sure I can go in the hole today?" Yeah, today's fine. It's Tuesday, so it's fine. So I'd go out and like, there'd be like a scrap of a newspaper, not even like a whole newspaper, but like resting on top of like the toaster. And then he like runs out and he's like, "Oh, it's under the newspaper." So I think he thought he was hiding these things. It's like I don't know. There'd be like little, like he kept his toothbrush in the hole with like a rock kind of covering half of it. Really didn't hide it, but I don't know. He seemed to think they were invisible. Maybe that was part of the riddle. I don't know. I still don't know. But one time he brings me out there, and there's a hammer, and the hammer is there's like a ladybug crawling on it, and he goes, "Look at that! Oh no, wait, hold on, sorry." And he reaches down and he picks up the ladybug. There, that hammer. You see that hammer right there? That is the very hammer that I used to break a giant pumpkin. And see, this was amazing because we had all heard the story. We had all heard the legendary story of Uncle Zanjo's giant pumpkin when he broke it open with a hammer. I wasn't even sure if it was real. It was enchanting. I didn't, it was this kind of like mythical story. And so to like see an artifact from that, it was amazing. He said, "This is the very hammer I used to break open that pumpkin." And as you know, I hit it, and it squirted out like pumpkin juice, and the seeds got on the mayor's shirt. The mayor's brand new pink, black, and purple silk Hawaiian shirt. And that was the day that he knew that he was destined to never speak again. Vow of silence. And I forgot to mention, he had been communicating all of this through not exactly sign language. It was kind of like his own kind of personal, I don't know, brand style of like sign language. It's kind of a mix between like arm gestures, some like grunts and groans, you know, like weird, like, and like eye twitches and whatnot. I think he figured as long as like words weren't being formed in his mouth, then that didn't count as speaking. And so yeah, so we all knew, you know, Uncle Zanjo's kind of language, you know, like we all got it. We were all basically fluent in it. So yeah, that was the day. That was it. That was the kind of the origin story of that. And because of that event, kind of in a sort of indirect way, like he didn't really like mean for it, but you know, the mayor getting those pumpkin seeds on his really nice shirt. That's actually why in the small town that I grew up in, there is, to this day, at least as of, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago, I checked. I don't know, maybe they changed it by now, but at least up to 4 years ago, when I looked on the internet, there's a law that says nobody, absolutely nobody, is allowed to ride their bike on the right side of the road on garbage day. Isn't that funny? It was kind of a multi-step process, kind of like a butterfly effect sort of thing. I'm almost surprised that like we were able to, I'm not going to bore you with it all right now, but like, yeah, it was just kind of like one thing led to another, and suddenly there's this whole fervor, this thing where it's like, you cannot ride your bike on the right side of the road on garbage day. It's not a safety thing. It's not like, because bikes were crashing into garbage trucks or whatever. It's just, again, it's not important. The real point of the story is he takes me out there and he shows me this hammer, and he looks at me real dead in the eye. Real with, I mean, he had one eye. He had one eye. It's another story for another day. He was born that way. Wasn't really that long of a story, so I just decided to just say it now anyway. So he looked at me with that eye. Lovely, green and blue and red. Just about all the colors of the rainbow in that eye. Gorgeous eye. Real nice eye. Wish I could have inherited that eye somehow, somewhere in the gene pool there. Oh well. He looked at me dead with that eye. Real intense. He had this way of just looking at you real close with that eye, and he'd bend down, and he'd basically, your eyebrows would just be like touching. And he looked at me with that eye a good 5 minutes, which was not uncommon. This was pretty regular, pretty much. It was actually one of the ways he communicated. It was kind of part of his language. So he gets real up in my eye, and his eyelashes are tickling my eyelid, which is how I knew that he was serious. And he looked at me in the eye, and he said, "I want you to take that hand." Well, said, I'm saying said. He didn't say it. I got it based on, his various methods of communication. He said, "I want you to take this hammer. I want you to run into the woods with the hammer. Don't drop the hammer. Keep the hammer. Keep holding it. Keep it in your possession. Run into the woods. I want you to find a tree. Any tree will do. You got to run into the woods, though. Don't just pick the first tree, because you're running into the woods. The woods, it's made of trees. That was one of his wise sayings, I remember to this day. The woods is made of trees. Really, really makes you think. That's one of those little nuggets of wisdom I carry with me even now. But the point is, he said the woods is made of trees. Don't just pick like the first tree, because that's going to be like the beginning of the woods. You need to get in there. I'm not going to give you a specific distance to travel. I'm asking you to just use your best judgment. I'm asking you to run into the woods, however far you think that needs to be before you are like in the woods, not just at the start of the woods. And when you reach that point, again, use your best judgment. I want you to find a tree. First tree that just like feels right to you. You might have to feel the trees. You might have to actually touch the trees. Feel them, grab them, shake them. Sometimes you got to shake a tree to really feel it. And his eye is still like pressed. It's like pressed into mine at this point. It's kind of uncomfortable, but it's all right. It's just one of the ways he talked. And he said, find that tree. I want you to take that hammer, and I want you to just go to town on that tree. Just start wailing on that tree with that hammer. Go to town. Go nuts. Go crazy. Go crazy on that tree with that hammer. Pretend like that tree is a bear. Don't attack a bear with a hammer. Hold on. And it took him a bit to like come up with a proper imagine that tree is a giant chunk of chocolate, and you have been given this hammer and told that you have 1 minute, you have 60 seconds to knock as much chocolate off of this thing as you can, and you get to keep all of it, and you can do whatever you want. You can eat it on the spot. You can put it in a bag and save it for later. You can like eat it little by little over time, or you could like keep it and then just like hope that you get another chance with another giant thing of chocolate, because if that happens again, then you're going to have so much chocolate you could eat it all at once. But you have to be careful, because if you save chocolate for too long, it gets all gross, like the fat, it gets all like cloudy and kind of icky, which is a shame, because like I've always been something of, especially as a kid, a bit of a food hoarder, like you get some special treat and it's like, oh, I got to save this for when I'm really in the mood. I got to maximize my enjoyment of this thing. But you do that with chocolate, and then you go to eat it like 16 years later, and it's no good anymore. So you have to be wary of that. But the real point is, just imagine that tree is a chunk of chocolate, and you're knocking off as much chocolate as you possibly can to put in your pillowcase for later. If that's what you choose, if that's what you want to do with it. That's what I want you to do with that hammer. I said, okay. I pulled my eye off of his. It made kind of a suction-y noise. And I turned to do it. And he grabs my shoulder and he turns me around. He sticks his eye back in my eye and says, "You have failed the test." But that was Uncle Zanjo, That was just indicative of his unbridled passion for chocolate. He loved it. Chocolate pancakes. It's pretty much all we ate. They weren't just regular pancakes. They were chocolate pancakes. Yeah. Chocolate chips, chocolate syrup on top, cocoa powder in the mix. Pretty good amount of cocoa powder. I think he actually like replaced a significant amount of like the flour. Maybe a quarter or more actually with just pure cocoa powder. Came out like black. That was him though. That was Uncle Zanjo. And one morning, I woke up and he'd already made the pancakes. I was still feeling pretty full from the previous night's dinner of chocolate pancakes, and he got up. He gets, I mean, every day, like 3 a.m. 3 a.m. he gets up and makes just a giant stack of chocolate pancakes. You don't even have time to get hungry, and there's always more chocolate pancakes. And one morning I wake up once again earlier than my 19 siblings that were present at that time, sleeping in his living room. I get up and I go in the kitchen, and he's got a stack of pancakes to the ceiling. I'm not kidding, to the ceiling. He has stacked pancakes to the ceiling. And I'm like, Uncle Zanjo, why don't you just make multiple stacks that are smaller? And he says, in his way, don't take this from me. This achievement is mine. And can you see how I have engineered this so that the lower pancakes are wider and they are denser, so that they are better able to support this this stack. And it wasn't perfect. I wasn't going to say it. I didn't say it out loud, but it was stacked to the ceiling from the counter. It wasn't from the floor, so it wasn't like perfect. So it was like counter to ceiling instead of floor to ceiling. Still really impressive. And yeah, it was true. It seemed to have put a lot of work into this. And even just like, I don't even know how he did it. I still don't know how he did it. How he fit the final pancakes up at the top, because pancakes are squishy. He had to have like packed them really tight. And I wasn't even going to touch it. I felt like if I just touched it, it would like spring out and all fall down. But like he had it packed in such a way. I don't know how he accomplished this, so that up at the top and the bottom, it's solid. And it stayed there. And he remodeled the rest of the house. He ended up knocking out a wall or two. And it turned out that ended up being a very important load-bearing stack of pancakes. It reached a point where we literally could not move it. It would compromise the integrity of the house. And I feel so honored to have been there, to have been the first person to see it. I didn't see him do it. I think that's for the best, you know? You don't need to see the master finishing the painting. You just, nobody saw Michelangelo paint the Mona Lisa. Nobody saw it. Some people weren't even sure if he did it, because everyone's like, do you even paint? I've never seen you paint. You talk about painting all the time, and these paintings will like show up, but like, do you paint though? Do you? Paint something for me right now. He wouldn't do it, because you don't get to see the master at work. Nobody saw Uncle Zanjo do this pancake stack. But I don't know. That kind of preserves some of the mystery. And I'm just so honored that I was at least the first person to see it in all its glory, because that house is there to this day. And, by now it's been reduced largely to rubble by the cruel march of time and a pretty serious termite problem. And yet somehow there's still a couple of walls and a chunk of ceiling and that stack of pancakes. That's how strong it was. And you know what? And I originally thought it must be very delicate. And yet it never fell down. It never did. And you know what? 1 year ago to this day, it was the anniversary of when me and Uncle Zanjo went to Shake Shack, and they were doing this deal on chicken tenders, and they were pretty good. It was just, I don't know, like, it was pretty good. It was okay. We had a 20% off coupon, and that it really meant a lot to him to save that much money. It at least compensated for a good amount of the tax. And so it was the first anniversary of that day, and I really just got thinking about Uncle Zanjo. Sorry, I'm getting a little and so that was a year ago today. That's why I'm doing this right now. I'm commemorating the 1 year anniversary of me, commemorating the 1 year anniversary of when we had a 20% off coupon at Shake Shack for chicken tenders. And we shared an order. We weren't very hungry. We kind of just wanted to do it because we hadn't really hung out for a while. And just want something to do, And you don't want to pay restaurant price, especially these days. Geez, the last couple of years, restaurants, it's harder and harder to get out to a restaurant. But wanted to do something, it had been a while. You're just kind of I don't know, what are we going to do? You want to go somewhere? I don't want to just go home and watch TV. If we just go home, we're just going to watch nature documentaries or something on Netflix. I don't know, which is fine. It's not a problem. It's just sometimes I just want to get out. Where do we go? I don't know. A restaurant would be fun, but I'm not that hungry. I don't want to spend that much. So we shared an order. And so it was the 1 year anniversary. And I thought, you know what? I think I might have solved the riddle. I think I might have solved it. So I drove, got in my car, got in my my enormous red Chevy pickup truck, and I drove to Uncle Zanjo's house. I went out in the backyard. I went to the hole, saw all of his belongings, and his poorly hidden belongings. There was what do you call it? There was like a burlap bag, or no, not burlap. It's kind of coarse. It's probably just plastic, right? Like a grocery bag, because in California they did the bag ban. So you get a lot more of the bigger bags, kind of woven. They're kind of tough. It's funny because I feel like each one of these bags is probably the plastic equivalent of 1,000 regular plastic bags, and these break. They still break. I still have to throw them away. So I don't know. Is it better? Or are we just convincing ourselves that it's better? I don't know. One of these bags, and just full of those cell phone pop things, You put it on the back of your phone, and they'll have some cool like a character or a flower or just some cool little thing. And you put on the back of your phone. And you know what? I've wanted one pretty much since I saw one, because I like to fidget. In fact, right now, I'm as I say this entire time, I in both hands I have fidget spinners, like mechanical, like they have like a little like motor inside, but they're silent. They're like dead silent, but they propel themselves. Really, really fancy. Really expensive. Really, really, I mean, maybe $1,000 each. But like they light up. They're lighting up this room. Crazy, crazy, just like color. It's like a rave. It's like a completely silent rave. And I'm holding those in my hands right now. And see, I say that I was willing to spend the money on those, but I've always wanted the poppy thing for the phone. But like, they're like $15 for a little piece of plastic. Nah, if I'm paying for a fidget for a thing, I'm paying for quality. Not gonna spend $15 on a little piece of plastic because it's got a Squirtle on it. It's too much. But he's got this bag full of these poppets, and I'm not going to take one. I don't steal. I'm not a thief. You know, I said I may have an Uncle Zanjo again sometime soon, and he keeps really, really, really careful track of the objects in the hole. Even this bag, there must have been a couple hundred of these things in there. But I knew he was keeping track, not on paper either, all in his head. Every item, every object. And so there was one of those in there, and it was poorly hidden by just kind of like two sticks. Just kind of two sticks were just kind of like laid across the top. It wasn't even shut. It was full of rainwater. It was disgusting. And then the bag itself was hiding, what do you know? The hammer. The hammer that set into motion a series of events. The ultimate effects of which are still being felt to this day. Possibly, maybe, not sure. Again, it's been about 4 years. I haven't checked. I wouldn't be surprised if it was still a thing, but I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't either. You know, things change. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay for things to change. And so this bag was obscuring the hammer poorly. So I slightly nudge the bag out of the way, and I pick up the hammer. You know what I do with that hammer? I walk into that house. Okay, well, I walk toward and into the slight covering of what's remaining of the house. You could see it from a mile away. It's that stack of pancakes. And I walked up to that stack of pancakes, and I looked at the hammer, and I looked at the stack of pancakes, and I looked at the picture. I mean, it's more of a mural. I guess it wasn't like in a picture frame. It was just like on a wall. It was one of the walls that was still standing. Pretty much the only complete wall had a mural, just the most gorgeous, beautiful mural of Uncle Zanjo. I don't know why the termites spared it. I think he probably, maybe it was the paint. He probably treated it with something. I do have to wonder why he would not treat the rest of the house. I don't know. Maybe the termites, maybe they revered him in some way. I wouldn't put it past a termite. I was actually watching a documentary on termites a few weeks ago, actually. Funny coincidence that I'm telling this story now. But it talked about how termites are actually very like kind of like, you could call it religious, but it's not like there's like one doctrine across all of termitia. Am I pronouncing that correctly? I can't remember. It was a couple weeks ago. I didn't retain everything. But they tend to kind of attach themselves to certain objects or other animals or symbols or people. And if you and see, and that's what's funny is a lot of animals act in ways that you don't that you don't understand. You see animal behavior and you're like, what is that? I don't know. It's just animals being animals. Shut up. Stop talking to me about animals all the time. And so that's why whenever you might have seen a termite in your house, like staring at a cereal box, right? Like you've seen that. We've all seen that. You wake up in the morning, you put on your slippers, you put the kettle on, and you bring out the cereal, and maybe you put the box down, and then you go over to wash your hands or something, and then you look back and there's just like one termite, and it's just like looking at that box. Maybe it's like the Wheaties box, and there's like an athlete on it. Like what's her name? Is it she plays it was like this big thing. She won this whatever. So the termite might be by looking at the box, and you just like, what is that termite doing? I don't know. Termite stuff. Who cares? Just being like really aggressive about it. And that's actually why. That's why they do that. Is because they will see these people or these images or these symbols, and they'll actually develop something of a a reverence, almost on like a religious level for these things, and that's actually what's happening. And if you were to take that termite and that box of Wheaties and put it in a stable environment, if you were able to sacrifice this box of Wheaties, you shouldn't. Don't waste food. But in theory, if you were to take this termite and these Wheaties and put them into some sort of a safe house, some sort of safe environment where the termite was, all of its needs were provided for, there were no predators, there were no like lizards or frogs or birds or monkeys. A lot of monkeys like to eat bugs. Termites are a lot like ants, right? I don't know. I didn't watch the whole documentary. I slept through a good 3/4 of it. I feel like they're a lot like ants. They kind of look like ants with wings. Maybe an ant would eat wood if it had no other option. Maybe they always have other food around. Maybe if you were to similarly take an ant and some wood and put it in like an isolated environment, maybe it would eat wood. Maybe are termites just ants with wings? And like just every once in a while, an ant will just like grow wings and be like, all right, I guess I'm a termite now. Fly away. Yeah, I don't know. But if you were to put the termite and the cereal in this safe environment, no like dragonfly, like other predatory insects, like dragonflies, right? Like they'll like eat. Is a termite too big for a dragonfly? I don't know. They do fly, and I know dragonflies like eat other bugs that are airborne, but I feel like they're probably smaller, so maybe not. Praying mantis, maybe? What kind of bugs do praying mantises eat? Manti? I don't know. No one knows. But if you were to do that, no other natural predators, and that termite was allowed to breed and create more termites, then this symbol on the cereal box would essentially become an obsession for them. They would revere this image, and they would keep it safe. Even if, that's the fascinating thing, even if the image is carved into wood or it is something made out of wood, termites love wood. They love wood. They think it's so tasty. Yum, yum, yum. Termites love wood. And even then, they will not eat a piece of wood if that wood becomes the basis of a termite religion. If you can call it that. We still don't quite understand the nature of the termite brain, the psychology behind the whole thing. We're still trying to figure it out. That's the amazing thing about these documentaries. You know, there's always more to discover. The world is an amazing place. So I can only imagine that based on what I learned in that about a chunk of the documentary that I was paying attention to, not sleeping. From what I gleaned, that's probably what was happening with the mural, which was perfect, which was a lovely coincidence that the termites left that wall alone because it was beautiful. It was painted in all sorts of colors. Like red, orange, studded with diamonds. It wasn't even just like a painted mural, you know, it was like there were parts that were like mosaic and like rhinestones. And like those little like you go to like a gift shop and there'll be like a little thing, like a little like treasure chest. Have you ever seen that? Little like they're made of plastic, but like to a kid, you know, they just like anything shiny. They don't care about what it's really made of. They just be like a bunch of gems. It'd be like $5 to fill up a little thing, to dig for treasure and fill it up in this thing. It's just a little plastic, whatever. A bunch of those, just kind of like all over. It was beautiful. It was incredible. It's basically a landmark, in that town. So yeah, back to the story. I looked at the stack of pancakes, still sitting there, black as pitch, with chocolate. Why the ants didn't eat it, that's not something I have a theory about. There were ants. There were always ants. His house was infested, even before the termites, even before everything. There were just ants covering the walls all over. But there was always like this weird like ring, this like empty ring around the pancakes. Like there was like it was like a force field. There was like this perimeter around the pancakes. The ants would not cross that line. They simply would not. That I don't have anything for that. I don't have a clue. They would eat the other pancakes. It was like, in fact, that's one of the reasons why Uncle Zanjo had to make so many pancakes. Because the ants would like, you'd have to be quick. Sometimes he'd be frying it up. He'd like flick it on the plate and you would see like the wave just kind of like closing in and you'd have to like dive for it if you wanted to eat that pancake. It was fun though. We had names for all of them. It was a different time. And that was still true. None of the ants had even touched the stack of pancakes. So to get back to the story, I take my hammer, I look at the hammer, his hammer, sorry. It's not, I know I shouldn't have removed it from the hole, but I thought as long as I was doing like an important, like emotional thing, like in honor of him, you know, I thought like I solving his riddle, maybe, possibly. I thought that was probably okay. As long as I put it back. I remembered exactly where I got it from the bag of the whatever. What do you call them? Pop it? Is that like a thing? Cell phone pop? Fidget? Something? I don't know. And they all they all had a picture of what's his name? James Newton Howard. And that's beside the point. Just thought I'd fill in that little, you might have been wondering what was on him. Because there's so many. Like they can come in like really just anything. I don't know if he like had those custom made or what, or if he just bought them somewhere. He was a real thrifty guy. He did a lot of thrift store shopping. So anyway, I had the hammer, his hammer, which I had temporarily borrowed from the hole. And I looked at the hammer, and I looked at the stack of pancakes holding up the remnants of Uncle Zanjo's house. And I looked at the mural of Uncle Zanjo, his big eye, his eye there, almost pulling me in. I almost like it, I literally like almost felt like I wanted to press my eye to that picture of an eye. But so encrusted with gems, real and fake, was it that I did not dare. And I looked at the hammer, and I looked at him, and I looked at the stack of pancakes, and I said, Uncle Zanjo. I said, Uncle Zanjo. Sorry, hold on. Hold on, sorry. Okay. Oh. I'm not crying. I have a cold. And I said, Uncle Zanjo. And then I ran at the pancakes. There was a fire. There was a fire inside of me. It began as an ember, and it grew into a mighty flame. I attacked that stack of pancakes with a rage, with a burning fire, unlike anything I even thought was possible. I swung that hammer as though that stack of pancakes was a big chunk of chocolate, and I could keep every single chunk of chocolate that came off of it. But I had 1 minute. I had only 1 minute to get as much chocolate as I could, and I could keep it all. That was how much passion I had burning inside of me. And I swung my hammer at that stack of pancakes so hard that I kind of messed up my shoulder. It's still kind of sore, you know? Like, I don't know. It's frustrating. I felt like when I was a kid, I could just kind of do anything. Gosh, I could just like fall out of a tree. Especially when I was real little, you know, especially like at the beginning when I was real super little. I was basically like a bouncy ball. I'd just bounce a couple times and get up and laugh and run off. You know, when you're a kid, nothing really hurts. And then you turn like 30, and suddenly it's like, what is this? Why does this hurt? Yeah, I mean, it was a year ago, but like, yeah, I kind of, and it's like, you don't always feel it at first, you know? You don't always feel it like right away. It's always like a couple days later. And you're like, why does my shoulder hurt? Oh yeah, the pancakes, right? Yeah, and even now, like just a little bit, and I'm like, is that gonna go away? If it's been a year, wouldn't it have healed by now? What is it? Is it a permanent part of me? I don't know. But then like at the same time, sometimes that'll happen and I'll be like, oh no, this is never gonna heal. And then like one day I'm like, oh, I guess I don't feel it anymore. But like, why would it take a year? What is going on in there? What part of my muscle is like stitching itself over such a long period of time? It could be one of those things where like, you imagine if it's just something you use a lot, it just kind of like, I don't know if it like re-damages itself or if it really slows down the healing process. And so that was kind of it. So like, there's still like just a little bit. I didn't even like, I don't know. It didn't even hurt that much. That's what's annoying. It wasn't like a week later, I was like, oh no, I sprained my shoulder. I got to go to the doctor. It was just it's kind of little, you know, if I like raise my arm to like get something off like the top shelf in the cabinet, kind of like, ooh, hey, that kind of smarts a little bit. Still. Just like I mean, gosh, this morning, you know, I was reaching up to get a box of almond crackers, and I still feel it just a little bit. It's not even like bothering me anymore. It's more just the fact that it's there. You know, the fact that it's still there at all, even if it's not like impeding my life, my ability to use my arm. It's more just it kind of just makes you think about um death, you know? Uh I got to go to the bathroom. Give me a sec. All right, I'm back. So anyway, I'll finish this off with a story that Uncle Zanjo once told me late one night when all my siblings were asleep. It was just me and him curled up next to the fire on top of all the sleeping siblings. And in the dead quiet of the night, in the dark of the room, the glow of the fire, with his unique style of gesticulating and grunting, he told me this story. There once was an old man walking down the highway. This old man was old and sick and poor. And he was walking down the highway, and he came upon a different old man. This old man was poor and sick. So old, maybe even older. And the first old man said, "Old man." And the old man, second one, not the first one, the one that was on the side of the road, said, "Yes." And the first old man forgot what he was saying because the second old man took so long to respond. He was like half asleep. And and there was kind of an awkward silence. And then the first old man said, all right then," kind of like in a kind of friendly kind of way to end the conversation, kind of nods. He says, "All right then." And he keeps walking. And somewhere down the road, he comes upon another old man, perhaps even older and sicker. I got a missed call. Who's calling me? Is that more spam? I just got a spam. Yeah, just like an hour ago. Stop. It's every day. It's every darn day. These like robocalls. It's like whack-a-mole. You block one and another one pops up. It's so annoying. Like, who do they expect to fool? It's ridiculous. So there's another old man, perhaps even older, even sicker, and he's just asleep. He's just sleeping. So the first old man, he doesn't bother him. He's like, I need to find someone who's slightly less old and asleep. So he continues down the highway, and now he comes upon a dog. And the dog is old and hungry and sick. Not quite asleep, but you can tell it's nap time. Got that look in his eye, all sleepy. The kind of, a dog, and like maybe you play fetch with him a bunch. And they get all tired. It's really cute. And he says, "Old dog." And the dog doesn't say anything back. Because it's a dog. So he continues on. Soon the path bends and winds and twists its way up a treacherous mountain path. The path is narrow, the mountain steep. To the side, it drops down to jagged cliffs below. But the old man, he keeps walking. He can't quite remember why he's walking this way, but he knows it's going to come to him if he just keeps walking. And it's a long and perilous journey, but he keeps going. He passes a lot of other old men and animals along the way. At one point, there's a parrot, like a scarlet macaw, old, which is really saying something. Those can live pretty long. I know, how long can they live? I know, like, an African gray can live with 100 years or something. How long can a scarlet macaw live? Hold on. Let me see. Scarlet macaw lifespan. Not Scarlett Johansson. Scarlet macaws typically have a lifespan of 40 to 50 years in the wild, while in captivity, 75 or longer, sometimes even 90. Yeah, but that's the AI. They put the AI one on the top. Okay, well, this one, okay, here we go. Lamar University, yeah, 40 to 50 in the wild. I don't know if this macaw was captive. It might have been a pet. It might have just been, that's a beautiful bird. Wow. They call it a scarlet macaw, but it's really just a rainbow. It's got yellow and blue. That's a gorgeous bird. Wow. So this thing is somewhere between 50 to 80 years. I don't know. Oh, this picture, they're kissing. Oh, they're so cute. Oh, they're so cute. They're scary. They're big. But they're so sweet. I want to pet one. Absolutely gorgeous. Crazy. Oh, those ones are giving kisses too. They mate for life. Oh, that's so sweet. Look how many pictures there are of macaws kissing. Is that one a baby? Is that a baby? That's so cute. That's so cute. Anyway, so this thing is old and sick. Its feathers are all gray. I don't think that happens, but that's the way he told the story. Old and sick. And he says, "Old bird," the old man, the one walking, he says, "Old bird." And he thinks, okay, well, dogs can't talk. And all the other old animals that I've seen up to this point, squirrel, goose, they can't talk. But their parrots can talk, right? Can a macaw talk? So he he figured he'd try. He was off the top of his head, he couldn't remember if macaws could talk. There's a lot of birds that can say like a word, like budgies, like parakeets. Some of them, I don't know, like what. I've never met one that could say anything, but then you'll see like a YouTube video of one that can talk like a parrot. It's crazy. So he thought maybe a macaw can talk. So he said, "Old bird, old scarlet macaw," and the macaw said, "Bah." They have that like "rah" kind of sound they do. And he said, "Okay, well, there's still a chance that this thing could talk if I spend enough time with it. But I'm an old man. I don't have time for that. I have to continue my journey." So he did. And he reached the summit of the mountain at sundown. Just as the sun was passing down behind the mountains, and the sky was alit with fire as vibrant and amazing as the plumage of a scarlet macaw. And he thought, I wonder if that scarlet macaw is looking at this same sunset. What he didn't know was that scarlet macaw had keeled over and died of old age 20 minutes earlier. He didn't know that, and it's not really relevant to the story. Just kind of a little like a, I don't know, kind of an Easter egg, like a deleted scene in a movie. It's like, it's not important in the movie, but like, it's kind of fun to know. It had just keeled right over. Oh, the irony. So he got to the top, and he's looking at that sunset. And he hears a voice behind him. And he's at the very top of the mountain. He hears a voice behind him, and the voice says, "Old man." And he turns around. And it's the first. No, he's the first. It's the second old man. It's the old man that he met on the highway. And he's even older now, somehow. Somehow he's even older. Looks like he's 100. So sick. He could just tell. He's sneezing and coughing. He had a fever. He said, "Old man." And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "You passed me on the highway. And you did a kindness upon me. You fed me, and you bathed me." And the first old man was like, "All right, I don't remember doing that." He's thinking this. He's like, I don't remember doing that. But there's a lot I don't remember because I'm a sick old man. So maybe I did. I don't know. Kind of a what's the, like an unreliable narrator kind of thing. Like I don't know. Maybe he did. And like the story doesn't remember. I don't know. It's like, even if I didn't though, like maybe he's mistaking me for someone else, but like, I don't know. Whatever, I'll take the credit. Why not? No one else is around to take the credit. Makes this guy feel good. Why not? So he said, yeah, I did do that. I did those things. And the really super old, sick, he's getting older and sicker by the second. Just like every second. Somehow. And he said, "Well, gotcha. You've been punked. I'm not an old man at all. I'm actually." And then he does a magic spell, and he transforms into the old dog. And he says, "Because you have helped me, I will now grant you one wish. Anything you want." anything in the entire universe that you can even imagine, your wildest dreams, I will grant you any wish. So the old man, the first one, he opens his mouth to say his wish. And then he keels over dead. And that's the end of the story. And I said, Uncle Zanjo, that's the best story I've ever heard in my life. And it took you so long to tell it. He took way longer to tell it than I did. There was a lot more detail. Like all the animals, there's so many more animals. And it was a school night. It was like 5 a.m. And it was a school night. And I was like, I got to get up to go to school in like an hour and a half. But that was Uncle Zanjo. That was Uncle Zanjo.